Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Happy
Howdy,
Friday
y'all.
night. We're just kind of watching as people start to pour in and show up. Stone's getting the Instagram stream set up.
We're good
So
there.
we're all set on that. Weird, you didn't get the thumbs up like I always do when I do. See? Just
It's
like
a
that.
PC, not a Mac.
Oh, that's so weird. That it's browser based. That doesn't. Anyway. So thank you all for being here. We made just a teeny tiny announcement today for a teeny tiny little thing that we're going to be putting out moving forward. And we have Dawn from Rapid Change ATC. Dawn is the mastermind behind it. So we're super pleased to have him here with us, and I want you guys to be able to get as many of your questions out as we can get to tonight, realistically. But our boy Stone is he's a little under the weather, so we're going to be kind to him and not keep us here for too long. So let's try to be we're going to be concise and get some of these questions answered. This is a really intricate thing it requires so much more explanation than we can do in a live. So we're going to be putting out more detailed videos and stuff and doing more live sessions to really fully kind of get you guys up to speed on it. But tonight we just wanted to say hi and introduce you to Don. So Don, if you want to say hi.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for having me. Thanks for getting behind us. It's a pleasure to see.
So I guess before we really get into the questions, Don, do you just kind of want to give us a little background on how you got this started and what it's taken to get to where you are so that we can bring a product like this to market to the masses?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Do you want the long version or the short?
Whatever you want to tell us, man. I'm going to give you the floor here.
Well,
so
I've been I've really worked in a number of different crafts. I bought my first CNC back in the 90s when I was in the sign business. And when I got out of the sign business, I told myself that one day I was going to build a CNC. I actually, my first CNC machine I bought at a sign show in San Francisco in, I think it was 94 or 95. I bought from Axis Automation in Toronto, which is kind of interesting. So I know Onefinity is based near Toronto anyways. And anyhow, I really liked it. I ended up getting a Boneyard CNC, a big one, and I built it. It didn't have any motors or controller on it. About 2000, I refurbished it. And when I got out of the sign business, I thought, someday I wanted to build one. And then COVID ran around, so I started playing with them again. And, I've always been kind of a tinkerer and kind of haphazard in my work practices. So changing tools was just, a freaking drag, and I didn't operate my machine that much. So, but every time I went to change a tool, it was 15 minutes looking for my tools or my wrenches or something. And so I started looking into ATCs, and it was just out of the question. And I looked around on YouTube a little bit, and there's some funky kind of solutions with some gears and stuff to tighten it down. I thought to myself, well, really all I wanted to have was a pick and place kind of rack. I thought surely the spindle can line up on it and spin the nut on, and then, I'll know where my tools are. I get my son was into coding a little bit, and I figured I could get him to write me some code to do it. And so I tried it out on a little spring-loaded deal. I'm going to have that sitting here, but anyhow, I spun the spindle down into that nut, and it sucked it right up. I was like, holy cow. And my spindle didn't run in reverse at the time, so I went to wrench it off, and I thought, oh my God, it's tight. And I couldn't believe it. And subsequently, through a lot of testing and stuff, this was back in, I think July 22 is when I had the idea, 2022. But I couldn't believe that it tightened it up. So I was like, holy cow. And I played with it a little bit, and pardon me. It worked. It just worked, and I couldn't, I called. So then I thought to myself, holy cow, if this tightens the knot, sufficiently, could be a game changer. So I called my son up, and he'd been playing with code a little bit. He was a firefighter in Little Rock and wanted to get out of firefighting, so he was looking at code. And I said, hey, man, I think I found something really cool. I said, do you think you could, at the time I was using Fluid NC, which is an open source control software. And I said, can you see if you get into this firmware and see how to write this M6 function? And 2 laters, I typed in M6T1, and oh my God, I freaked out. I was like a 10-year-old kid at Christmas time, you know what I mean? So then, from there, it took me 7 months actually to get it to be reliable, because you're spinning that nut at 1500 RPMs and bringing it down to a hard stop to loosen the tool. And it would just it would jam, and it would get stuck in the socket, So yeah, I played with that for seven months until I finally came to the final conclusion where I don't know if you could see that or not. There's three bearings in there that hold the nut against rotation. It holds the nut against rotation when it's loading, and then when it drops it off, it stops that nut, and the force of the spindle just spins through, and it releases the nut. So once I almost quit on it, honestly. I was like, God, no wonder nobody's ever done this before, because it's just, I can't get it to work right. And then one day I thought, what if I just put 3 hardened pins in there, and it quit jamming, but then it would nick the clamping nut up real bad. And I thought, man, guys aren't going to like this, And then one day I was sitting there, and there was some ball bearings sitting there, and I thought, no way. And popped them in, and it was like, that was it. And then I was like, okay, it works. I cut steel with it. I cut aluminum. I knew guys were going to talk about the torque, because you look at the spindle, and inherently, I think they're, 2.2 kilowatt spindle, something ridiculous, like 0.8 Newton meters or something, somewhere's in that range, really low, right? And you're thinking, how would this, that's what I thought. I figured when I first tried it, I figured, well, I'll just snug it up, after it grabs the tool, and push the button, and off it goes. And I thought that
would kind of defeat the purpose, though, right? Like,
well, I mean, in my mind, it was going to be kind of like, I wouldn't have to look for my tools, and all I'd have to do is push a button. And sometimes, a lot of times you try and get that nut on, and you're fumbling around till you get it just held right to get it started. You know what I mean? And so I figured for myself, if that's all it would have amounted to, I wouldn't be here today, because I wouldn't have tried to market something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the fact that it just works. People can't believe it, but we've sold over 400 in the last year. And we haven't done any marketing at all. Just the YouTube videos that we put out. We started a Discord server back in the beginning for community and to provide support and stuff. And so it's kind of a grassroots thing that's grown up. And then really funny, that back at the beginning, I was like, oh, this is great, man. People are this is really going to be a game changer. So I got all sentimental and stuff. And actually the first 38 that we sold, I sold them with a, sorry about that. I sold them like this. I don't know if you can see that. I don't want to focus. It's got a little brass plate. It's got your name on it, and it says something about help to bring rapid change to the CNC industry. Well, get this. This is really the crazy part. Mark from Onefinity got a hold of me back in May and expressed interest, and we got to talking, and then got together with him on a call with your engineer, Tony, and they opened the box. They said, we bought one last October. I was like, oh, wow. And they opened the box and they're like, oh, what's this little brass plate? And I was like, you got to be kidding me. They literally bought the last one that went out with that tag. I thought that was kind of wild.
It is wild.
Serendipitous. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and, you know, that's the story. That's what brought us here today.
So I guess what I'm curious to know is because automatic tool changers have always been done like one way. There's one way that they've always been done with pneumatics and
right.
You know, specialized collets and stuff. Where did you get this idea to just use the rotation of the spindle to tighten it? Like,
I mean, I was desperate, man.
It's one of those things that's like,
I really wanted to be able to pick my tools up, and I thought, surely a spinning spindle can, you know, you spin the threads to get it on. I said, surely it can do it. I was a little tense the first time, you know. I was like, do, just dropping it, and then all of a sudden, sucked it right up on the spindle. I thought, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. And so then I went, and then I plunged one, and when I plunged it, I went to take it off, and I thought, oh my God, I could not believe that it wasn't as tight as we're getting them today, but it was surely, I was like, oh shoot, man, this is, you know, maybe not quite as tight as I would tighten it by hand. And then subsequently, you know, you guys have done a lot of testing and got some good torque numbers. I think they were running at around 20 foot-pounds or something, 20 Newton meters. I'm not sure which. I know you're going to have some data actually about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, because all my testing has been kind of Neanderthal torque testing until I got associated with you guys, and then I figured out how to look at it myself. But I've done a lot of wear testing and stuff like that, but I never really, you know, I'm not a statistician, so I never really recorded a whole lot of numbers. Plus, I figured numbers coming from me are going to mean nothing. You know, really, it's like it. And this is what's so exciting, because completely independent, come to your own conclusion in a really scientific kind of manner. And it's like, yeah, that's what I've been hoping.
And we have some of that data listed on the forum. We put that up when we released everything this afternoon. So if you are interested in that stuff, you can go check that out.
Excellent.
For all the people that I've already seen a lot of questions about the torque specifically on the nut today. So,
I'm going to take a brief stab at this, but like, I think that's the main question that people are going to be having is like, how do you know that it's tightened enough? So like, if it's tightened enough to grab onto it and, you know, keep it there, the rotation of the spindle is opposite the rotation of like, it wouldn't loosen it. It would only tighten it as it moves and as it spins. So like, it's not going to get any looser as it's cutting, right?
I've never had one slip on me.
Yeah.
You know, the nice thing about it is you can, I mean, I've had bits slip on me, but I've not had it slip on me using this. You can determine the torque. So people I know one big question people has is how does it even produce the torque to the nut? And the simple explanation is that the spindle is rotating. You've got the mass rotating, coming to a hard stop, and that is where the torque comes from. It's like, you know, if you pulled your car up to, you know, a brick wall and turned on the gas, you wouldn't go nowhere. But if you back up 30 feet and hit the gas, you know, chances are you're going through the wall. So that's the principle right there. So that being said, you can adjust the torque to the nut by increasing the RPMs at which you make the strike. So I run all my stuff, you know, we cut 1.5 inch HDPE in one pass. And I mean, it's plastic, but I've never had any problems. And I run mine at like 1,500 RPMs to load. And once you guys got into testing and I was able to really scrutinize it and get an exact number on torque and stuff, that's about 10 to 11 foot-pounds of torque. And it's always been fine for me. Now, I know your guys' numbers were quite a bit higher than that, I think, by upping the RPMs.
We're up at
and
2,400 RPMs.
24? Okay, yeah. I was running at 25. Now, somewhere's between 2,500 and 3,000 RPMs is too fast. So somewhere's in there, it gets to the point where it's spinning so fast that it just rides those contact points and never seats in there. So, yeah.
Well, now that we have a little bit of backstory, kind of figured out how you've gotten to this point, how you got involved with Onefinity for the people that didn't know, there are a ton of questions that Morgan and I just don't know enough yet. I mean, obviously we've played around with it. I've made some tool changes, but there are so many technical questions relating to the Rapid Change system itself. So I'm kind of thinking maybe we can point those to you, and then we'll try to answer the Onefinity side of things. But let's just kind of go through, I guess, some of these questions because they're flying in here.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions because,
like I said, you know, it's like a whole brand new deal. Of course, people are gonna have questions, and you know, I knew when I brought out, I knew people were gonna be like, "Oh, there's no way," you know. And torque was an issue, and I could say all I wanted to in my videos, but nobody was gonna believe it until they either tried it or somebody they trusted tried it and told them that, you know, it just worked.
Yeah, it's always been done one certain way, and this is, you know, this is kind of you know, blowing people's minds. So there's questions.
New things are always, you know, scrutinized, which of course, why not, you know? And then, but you know, for what it is, it's I mean, you know, the guys that have had it for a while or whatever have been using it. They're like, yeah, there's no way out of it. Questions. If I can answer them, I'll do my best.
So I guess we'll just start from the top. And this actually came in before we even started. Upgrade options, 4 slots is not enough. Any plans for larger, or what are options for more than 4?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Sure. So they actually will. They will link together. I've got kind of set up on. I did a little setup, but the four pocket units you can link them together, and you can run 4 or 8 or 12. You know, it's possible in the future that we could do a 2 pocket one, so that you could go to 6 or whatever would fit better on your machine. But at the moment, the 4 pocket modules will link together, so you can stretch them out if you want.
So, in short, you can order as many of those 4 pockets in theory and link them together. You just have to have the connections for it.
Yeah, and the length of the table. You know, they're 400 millimeters long.
So, in theory, you could put 3 of those on a foreman or a journeyman along the front.
Yeah.
Still have a little bit of wiggle room too for your tool setter and things like that. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me see. We had one question about the dust boots working with longer. Will dust boots with longer bristles affect the ATC functionality? It's something that we're working on, a specific dust boot to be able to work with this, and I think
I have it right here.
yeah. So Stone's got one. It's specifically designed to be able to work with this.
So this is obviously not the final edition. This is a 3D printed prototype, but this is what it looks like. So this is the new Suckit Dust Boot SM, which stands for spindle mount. You still have the same options for your brushes here at the bottom. It uses the exact same brushes from the original Suckit. And this one, I do not have magnets in, but this is magnetized and will come off just like that. And then here you have two, it's actually three more parts, but two of them screw together. This right here mounts to your spindle and just clamps around the spindle. So that goes around the spindle body. And then this piece right here, which is your hose, will just slide into place. And if you can see there are some little arrows to line up. So that's the open and that is closed. So that's the new dust boot that will work specifically with the Rapid Change ATC. So you can use this without the ATC, but this was designed around this specific tool holder so that you don't have to take the dust boot off for your bit changes.
Yeah, thought of everything. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so we designed it so that each individual tower has the sensors inside to, detect that the nut's been properly loaded or released. So as long as the hard part of and it'd have to hang awfully low for it to crash into the bottom of the tool changer. So there's plenty of room to make the tool change without the bristles crashing into them.
And something that we were talking about, I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, the day that we were talking. There was people were asking about, like, is there going to be a cover? Because on your website there are some that have a cover, but when you come over the tower with your dust boot on and running, anything that's in there, it's just going to suck right out of that. So like the keeping dust out of there isn't that much of a concern, because every tool change, it's coming over and it's sucking all the dust out of those towers.
Yeah. I mean, if you leave it running while you're doing the tool change, unless you've got a vacuum that's powerful enough to suck that nut up out of there, which I haven't seen it happen yet, and plus, if you're using a dust boot, you're probably not gonna have that much.
Yeah, this shouldn't be that much.
Another point to raise is, obviously, so if you have it on the QCW, like I've got it set up here, or if you set your tool rack on the right side of your machine, because the way the bit is spinning when it's cutting, most of the dust is going to blow out the left side of the machine, which is away from the tool rack. So,
there's all ways to deal with it. This is a really fine solution for not having to mess with the dust boot. Earlier versions, you would either have to pause it, remove your dust boot, or have some kind of parking deal.
I'm not sure if it's just me, but Don, I can just barely hear you.
Oh, really?
Morgan, can you hear him clearly?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Might be an input volume.
Here, I can. Here, let me take these off.
Well, while you're doing that, we are going to hunt for another good question for you to answer, because there are plenty of them. Let me see.
Let's see what Instagram has to offer us.
Don, can you see the comments, or are you Not able
Can
to
you
see
hear
them.
me better now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, a whole lot better.
All right, cool. Yeah, I can see the yeah, quite a few comments.
Yeah, there's a lot here. So if you see any questions in there that look interesting and you're eager to tackle,
Oh,
feel free.
wow, there's a lot. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I did see a question. Somebody asked how much room it was going to take off the table. So I know the QCW mount that you guys have is right there on the edge, like the center of the pocket is right, just with enough room to play. So your mount on the front is, I mean, you'd be better able to answer that, but it's not taking up a whole lot of room, right?
No,
No, hardly any. It's negligible. I think we have to scoot the slats on the QCW back like a half inch, maybe.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, having a little room for play a little bit,
So it's not taking very much out of your cutting area at all.
The tool rack itself, if it was to sit inside of the cutting area, not on a QCW, is 15.5 inches by 3 inches. So,
yeah. And the final design has holes for locating pins, one on either end. So you can, if you didn't have the QCW table and you wanted to mount it on the side or wherever, in the setup software, we'll have some G-code files that you can run that can drill the holes wherever you want. And you only, if you just drill, if say you've got an MDF bed or whatever, you can drill the two mounting holes and then pilot and screw the magazine down, and you can line it right up on, get the edge. So there's seven, so you're going to be into the table 37.5 millimeters, maybe a little bit more when you figure for the spindle going by or whatever, but it's as minimal as it could possibly be.
Here's a good question I saw. What is the largest diameter bit that will fit inside of one of those towers?
Right. Okay. So the pass through is 28 millimeters. And so 28 millimeters, I probably wouldn't try 28 millimeters, maybe 27 or 1 inch anyways, but just unfortunately it's just under a quarter of it, or 1.25 inches. But we've got plans to deal with facing bits and stuff like that coming up. Probably won't be real soon, but we're constantly developing. I mean, there's so many ways to use a CNC, and there's so many, so many people in different facets of CNC that are interested in this. It's like we still got a lot of work to do to integrate it everywhere.
As far as the shank size goes, you're just limited to a 1/2 inch, just because this is based around the ER20 collet system. So,
right. Yeah, that's all based on the spindle size. But it works with ER25 spindles, and it works with ER32 as well. I've got a couple out being beta tested, and I haven't really finalized it yet because I don't have an ER32 spindle as of yet, 32, right? So I haven't got one yet. I don't really want to until I put my hands on it and see it, but I'm getting good reports on it. It's always too much to do in a day sometimes. You guys have been keeping me pretty busy here the last couple of months too. So.
Yeah, and you've been doing a lot of the heavy, the heavy lifting, a lot of the legwork behind the scenes. Me and Stone, kind of the rubber just hit the road for us the last couple of weeks. So
yeah. You guys are brand new, so that's cool. Well,
there's a comment on Instagram. I couldn't hear him over the sound of my pneumatic ATC. That was just too good not to share.
No, yeah. Well, you know, I mean, it's super simple to hook up. It's reliable. You know, um, if it does error, it's got the safety check. You know,
Mhm.
and so
Yeah, so I think this is one thing we didn't really mention a whole lot about in the announcement, but on each of the tool holders, there's a infrared sensor. So, um, Don, you could probably talk a lot more about that and give a little more detail on how that works as a safety. But
okay, so why don't I?
you ready to? Don's actually set up
Yeah,
to do a little demo
why
for
don't
us.
I switch screens here and
Yeah,
then
Yeah, let's do that. I think
yeah.
people are kind of eager to
yeah.
I'm
see
trying
it.
to right in because my shop's a mess and I don't want anybody to see it. So
So while Don's switching
I got a
over his
nice tight
camera,
shot. All right,
I would wager that 90 to 95% of people watching this, their shops are a mess
yeah, I'm sure.
currently right now. So
Right. No, I
don't
have
feel bad about that.
you know.
now this is the only thing that's clean is what you see right here.
Yeah, right. This little postage stamp size spot.
Um,
All right, let's see. Um, let's see. How do I do this?
Rotate through them.
Oh, turn it back on. Oh, that's kind of blurry, isn't it? All right.
just a few people speaking your praises. I follow Don's Discord channel, and he provides great support. Um, obviously, Don, this is kind of his baby, so um,
I'll tell you what, we've got really. Come on, what's going on? I don't know why it's not focusing out there. That's horrible. Hold on a second.
Well, while Don is working on that, Stone and I, we can actually, even though Don is the expert on this, we can look for questions that we are capable of answering because there may not be a whole lot of them, but there might be some. Let's see.
So I'm looking for more Onefinity questions in Rapid Change here, but here's one. Are there any dust boots that currently work with ATC? So obviously, I just showed off our new dust boot that we will be releasing with this. But as of right now, we have not tested any other dust boots. I'm sure as these kind of get out into the wild, there will be a lot more people that start designing boots for them. But for right now, the only one that we know of that works for sure is that one.
Can you have different size shanks in the ATC?
Yes. So
yes.
I have this set up right here. So obviously you can go up to a 1/2 inch.
Depends on your spindle.
Well, it depends on your spindle, but the smallest spindle will support a 1/2 inch shank.
Well, if 65 millimeter spindle will go up to 3/8.
Yes, but a 65 millimeter spindle will not work with this. ER20 call it is the.
Oh, that's right. And the 65 is at what, ER16?
No, right? But I've got a 1/4 inch, a 3/8 inch, a 1/2 inch, and an 1/8 inch collet in all 4 of these. So, like we said last night, if you were here for the Redline release, the Redline spindles will come with a 1/4 inch, an 1/8 inch, a 3/8, and a 1/2 inch. The Rapid Tool Change itself will come with the 4 collet nuts for the Rapid Tool Changer. So you have all of the nuts that you need that you know will fit into there. It will not include the collets. So that will be something that you would either get with your spindle or get somewhere else. But you can use any ER20 collet in there.
Oh, Ben from Myers Woodshop said 65 millimeter is ER11. So that will not fit in there.
ER16.
16. Yeah, that's what I said. I said 16. Ben said 11. I don't know.
ER11 is what it's like they're basically Makita clones that use ER collets.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are ER11. ER16 for the 65 millimeter.
And Don, you're getting some love here. Somebody said Don's ATC support is as good as it gets. So,
no, well, thank you.
Got fans.
Thanks, David.
Fans.
I do my best. Oh, I was gonna say, you know, the community that's been wrapping around this thing on our Discord server is phenomenal. There's a lot of guys. I see Vega 3D on there. He he's a big help. A lot of guys will get in and help each other if people have questions and stuff. I've been kind of distant the last month or so because I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But that's we try to do our best with support and keep everybody happy. So, what was I gonna? What was I pointing at that for?
Oh, there we go. We were able to focus.
I'm gonna get a little. Oh, we were talking about the sensors. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so the sensors.
I'm not a spring chicken anymore, so you know.
And I'm actually going to make this
slide a little short term.
Somebody did bring up a good point, and that it's definitely worth mentioning. Is that a tool setter is required? You do well.
Sorry, that was
Everybody leave.
Nope, everybody's
Just
here.
the view. Okay.
So we can see Don's a little better here.
Okay, gotcha. But yes, somebody said that a tool setter is required. So yeah, you do need to have the tool setter for this thing to function properly.
Yeah, so I guess while Don's kind of finishing up getting set up, we'll run through real quick. So this will work with both the Elite Series as well as the original and Pro Series with the BuildBotics controller. With the Elite Series, it will come with the wiring kit for the internals on the Masso. And then after that, all you need is, obviously you have your tool rack, and you will either have a QCW mount or a table mount for that. That is, you select one of those. There's no extra charge for that. If you already have the Onefinity tool setter for your Elite system, you don't have to get a second one. You can just select, I already have a tool setter, and that's all you need for the Elite system. For the Pro and original systems, you have the new box of the Easy adapter that we just released today. And what that will do, it will enable homing sensors. So instead of the stall homing, it will enable the sensors, and you plug those into there. And you will also be able to plug in a tool setter, which is required. So that will have all of the needed connections to make everything for this ATC work with your Pro or Original series as well.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
So, so I've got this one. I just it's sitting on pins. It's not actually bolted down. I drilled the pins for it, and so I know that it's at. Just gonna put this on here.
Don, if I could just point something out real quick. It's important to note that this one is not it's not attached to the QCW. This one is on just directly on the wakeboard, so it can do both.
Right. I don't have a QCW mount. I just bolted it as far forward as I could on this table.
So either one, QCW or on top of your wakeboard.
Yeah. So this is back on the table a little bit. Actually, with your guys' mount, it brings it out forward of the table a fair amount, I think. Right.
It does.
So it really takes up a lot less space. So I bored the holes, for the pins. So I know that it's running parallel with the axes, and I know right where that first pocket is. So I can just do a G53 move. And pocket one should be at X 120, Y 55, and a G53 machine coordinates. So everything sets up in machine coordinates, which is distinct from here. I forgot to put a G0 in there. Sorry about that. But I'm just going to check. I got this little ring. I just got a dowel pin in here, and I've got this little disc right here so that I can come down and check and make sure that I am put it in step mode here. I don't have a touch, so I don't have my screen showing. It's off to the side. But anyways, let me see if I'm gonna. This is not gonna be fun for the people watching, but I'm gonna move the camera in real quick and just show that this little disc that's on there is you can double check the fact that you're centered on your pocket by putting that disc on there, and it'll well, it's all black. I don't know if you can see it, but it makes it really easy to tell whether it's centered on that pocket or not. And actually, it's not. So let me see if I can. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to be able to. I don't think you're going to be able to see it. I'm at the end of my cord here. So, anyways, I can tell by looking at it because this ring is not sitting perfectly in that cavity, that it's not quite lined up right. I think.
And what you're seeing here that Don is doing is not something you have to do every time you set this up.
No.
Once you set the tool setter up and have its position set in your software, you won't have to come back and change this every time.
That's correct. But this little deal really allows you to get it right there. Back a little bit. I'm just moving it like a tenth of a millimeter at a time. That's right. But anyway, so then from there, this the nut with you've got to have a tool on the spindle with tightened up on the spindle, because what we're doing is we're going to gauge everything from the bottom of that nut. Okay, so we're at negative 66.7 millimeters is the machine coordinates of that particular spot right there. So that's going to tell us a couple of other things. And 66.7. Real tight. I just put that right. So the IR sensor, the sensor in each one of these, when you go to drop the tool off, this nut obviously wants to come off and stay in the pocket. So if we once the tool's been dropped, then it will rise to probably about there. And you can see the green light on. That means that the beam has been blocked. So when it after it goes to release it, it will rise up to zone 1 and we'll check. And if that beam is blocked at that point, then it'll try to drop it off again. And then if it fails the second time, then it comes up and it pauses the program and allows you to take care of it. So when loading the tool, it will check at this height to make sure the beam is blocked, letting it know that the nut is on the spindle, and then it comes up about I think 6 or 7, 8 millimeters, and checks again and make sure that the beam is clear. Because if for whatever reason, and every once in a while it happens, that the nut will get stuck and doesn't thread up properly, and so it would detect that, and so that's the reasoning behind the sensors, and they work flawlessly if there's ever a problem. I know you guys have data on failures. It's pretty low. One thing I can say is that in my testing, I've tried, I've bought different spindles to test them out, and I've had some spindles that, the threads off the factory were really sharp. And so I took to just dressing that first thread on the spindle just a little bit, and that made all the difference. And actually, on one of my production machines, I run a 4.5 kilowatt spindle with ER25. And when I first put that into commission, I think the first month we had maybe 4 or 5 failures, and we haven't had one since, and it's been over a year. So it's like, the kind of a smooth threads. If there's any, if it can get stuck, it's either going to be because it's been bumped, something's been bumped but with closed loop steppers, that's the way to go, because you know that you're not going to lose steps or this machine will stop, so that, and sharp edges on the threads, can cause some problems, but it's very infrequent. It doesn't happen much. Most of the time is misalignment. If it gets out, it's got a little slop. You could be off by 10, 15 thousandths before you start having problems, but with the sensors, it's not really a problem, because it's not gonna run along its way, and when it is, something's not right. Anyways, I'm babbling.
That is totally fine. That's what you're here to do. That's what we
Yeah.
why we wanted you here. We wanted you to fully explain and give as much information about your thing as possible.
If you want, I can run through the setup real quick. It shouldn't take but a couple minutes, because I pretty much know where I'm at now.
Sure.
Actually, let me write this down.
Yeah, why not?
Here's a question while you're doing that. If you have a project that has some bits in the ATC, some that are not, would it prompt you for a manual change? So if you had a tool changer with 4 tool racks, but maybe you had a file that had 5 different tools, how would that work, Don?
All right, sorry, I didn't catch all that.
I'm sorry.
Copying. Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Just let's see. If you have a project that has some bits in the ATC and some that are not, would it prompt you for a manual change? Yeah, we have a way of dealing with that. And I can't tell you exactly what it is, because my son James does all our code, and so in other words, if I understand the question right, if you got a project that, say, it's the bit's not in the magazine because you've got too many bits on the job, or it's too big to fit in there, like a facing bit or something, there's a way to there is a way to deal with manually loading a tool that's too big to fit in the magazine or something like that. Does that sound like a proper answer? Or did I miss something?
You're the expert on this, so whatever you say.
Well, I'm just
that makes sense to me. I
would
would just
I don't you couldn't run a program that had a bit that needed a manual tool change in the middle of it. You know what I mean? But there is, we've done we've connected with about 10 different control software, so they're all a little bit different, and I know that we handle it. Masso was a challenge, because Masso is the only controller that we've worked with where we can't really talk to the controller. We could talk to the controller, but the controller doesn't talk to us. So in order for us to know what tools in the spindle, we actually turn on inputs with the outputs and calculate bits or something. I don't really understand it, but it's somewhat mechanical, but it works good. But the problem is with the Masso is that we can't, our subroutines can't get any information from the controller. So, but but I know that there's a way that if you call for a tool that is not a legal tool for the magazine, it will, I think we have a behavior for it. So maybe it goes to, I think it goes to a specific position, or maybe it just sits at safe clearance. I don't know exactly with the Masso how we deal with that, but there are ways to deal with it. And I just don't know. Exactly.
That's fine. We're gonna be putting out a a lot more instructional content and videos about how all this works later on. We're just kind of today we announced it today, and we're just introducing it to the world. So
getting acquainted. Yeah.
Just
right.
Rubbing elbows.
Yeah. So probably. Oh, here. Yeah, I'll just run through this real quick. So let me share my screen, I guess. And how do I do the share screen? Okay.
Let me see.
Entire screen, and we'll share this one.
I did see another question on Instagram. What post processor do we need to use? I mean, it would just be the normal one, right?
So, okay. So we have post processors for Fusion and post processors for Vectric. And I know we need to get one edited for Carveco, but we haven't got to it yet. It should be pretty simple. So anyways, so this is what you're going to see when you go to set up your positions and stuff. Actually, it loads up like this. Your general, you're going to enter your units and your Z-max, which would be your safe clearance height. And so then your magazine layout, like what I got sitting there on the table, we're on the x-axis, and we're running. I'm gonna pick the left side for pocket 1, so it's gonna run in a positive direction from pocket 1 to pocket 2, and the pocket offset for the towers are 100 millimeters. So that's, you got to set that direction and alignment there. And now here, all the pockets get calculated. So there's actually, I think, an option to not show all the pockets, because you really don't need to see that. So we've got, that was the coordinates of my last setup. So we're at our X coordinate, machine coordinates. Now it's always got to be in machine coordinates.
Absolutely.
That's real important. That's real important. All this setup gets done in machine coordinates. So on the Masso screen, it's not the one up in the upper right-hand corner. It's down,
your absolute position, not the
right. Position. Yeah. So what did we end up with? 119.7. And Y, we're at 55.4. Now my Z reference, I was at, I got to do some math. Here, before this really goes live, like we're just at the tail end of developing this out. But when it actually goes live, it's going to, you'll find that spot with the disc like I had like I showed where I brought it down and the bottom of the nut was sitting right there at the top. That position, and the software will calculate, you'll put that position in here and it will calculate where the Z and gauge height is. But the way we do it right now is I got to put in the number for 66.7.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Let me see. 1190.6. See, y'all are in the comment. I'm just reading some of these comments. I'm seeing numbers and then stop him. I don't know what is going on. See, that's the problem when you have people much smarter than you are in the comment section. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about either. So
Yeah, that's why we got Don here. So
I was referring to a comment, but it was just a little joke. Yeah, a lot of people are asking what is metric, just because
What is metric?
Most people around here use freedom units.
Yeah, freedom units. I like that. That's funny. Well, I don't know. You know what I mean? We had a lot of Europeans in the beginning that were
honestly, in my experience,
and I found that there was a lot going on with millimeters, like with the extrusions and stuff. And so I don't know. That's
well, with millimeters, in my experience, and just having set this up and using it, millimeters are much smaller units for one. So it's a lot easier to keep track of those little bitty adjustments you're making, especially when you're doing things like setting up your tool positions and all of that. But you can do this in both metric or imperial, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely, of course, sure. I would be in big trouble if you couldn't.
So
Yeah.
Don, I'm don't kill the messenger. In the comments, people are saying, stop Don. Something's wrong. Something about your X coordinate, and he's gonna crash something.
It was. I had 1900 and
okay, good.
Yeah.
I caught it. Thank you.
Okay.
We got some sharp people out there, man.
Because I didn't know. But
yeah.
Thank goodness for the people in the comments.
Hey man, people that run CNC machines and play with this stuff are sharp people.
Okay.
Sharp people. I'll tell you what.
Thank you guys.
I gotta say real quick. When I went to do this, I thought I did it really because I thought, man, people are really gonna dig this, And I'll tell you what, it's been such a great experience because I've always been kind of a loner. I just like to tinker in my garage, you know what I mean? But I have met some of the coolest people from all over the world, and it's just really been a lot of fun because, CNC people, they don't talk the same language, and it's really cool to interact with people that are, like-minded. So I've really I've enjoyed that a lot. A lot of sharp people out there. It's fun. I've met a lot of really great guys from around the world. It's incredible. Anyways.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a kind of a different breed. Like CNC folks just kind of think differently.
You're kind of nerdy, but you're cool nerdy because you create all kinds of really cool stuff.
Well, speak for yourself. I'm just regular.
It's cool nerdy to be nerdy when you're creating stuff, man. I think that's really awesome. I like it.
Let me see. I like my units of measure like I like my pickup trucks. Bigger and American. I run my machine. A lot of people use inches. A lot of people use metric. I run everything in cubits. So.
In cubits. Oh man, you're intense.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't know how to
cubits and fractions of cubits.
So something else. So here's where you can adjust your feed rate. People have asked me about doing the math because there is a correlation to how fast the spindle's moving, correlated how the thread count, blah blah blah. It really doesn't matter. When you're up in this range, which is about 78, 75 inches a minute if we were in inches. And going back to general, right when you start, you can choose metric or imperial.
There you go.
Now
you see a cubits option there.
But let's check something out here. It doesn't swap your numbers. Oh yes, it did.
Oh, it converted.
Oh, James is a genius. All right, cool. So all you got, if you want to switch back and forth, I guess you can. You can just do the check mark and bam, you're back there. So you don't have to be in metric.
Just a happy little surprise there for us.
Yeah, surprised me. So RPMs, like I said, I run my stuff at 1500. You can run it all the way up to 2500. Anything above 2500, you can probably go a little higher, but at some point it's going to skip and make a hell of a racket. So just be aware of that. And you know, the more RPMs, the more torque. So, you know, you got quite a range. One of the benefits is you're always going to pretty much have the same torque, or within a couple tenths of a foot-pound or something. You know, I don't know. I'm excited to see the data you guys came up with, because I just like to look at it and check it out. So I just never took the time to really write everything down and whatnot. Now, the only other thing so then your tool with the Masso, now the setup for the Buildbotics will be different. There'll be a little bit more going on, because the Masso handles the tool measurement all by itself. And so we don't even have to list the tool. I know on the desktop app that you guys had, there was a place to put the position of the tool setter, but it's irrelevant, because Masso, once it makes the tool change, then Masso takes over and does the measurement. And so the tool tracker is just the setup numbers that you have listed for. This is a little more in depth and really would require, but it's coming. If on the page, this is very infantile, but this is basically the wiring diagram for, one with the dust cover, for the Masso. And then we'll have post processors for download here. You'll be able to download your post processor version here. And we're going to do a little tutorial, at least on the Vectric ones, of how you can customize the post processor a little bit if you want some pauses or you want to do certain things. So anyways, so then that's pretty much it. You can import a tool library from Fusion, so that you can set up tool libraries with as many tools as you want, but they all have to correspond to a pocket. So obviously you can't run a file with 8 tools. You know, you'd have to split it up if you had 4 pockets, but you can have them numbered. You can use your tool numbers, you know, like if you got 50 tools, different tools you use, they can all have a specific tool number, like in Vectric, in Fusion, and then be assigned to a pocket. And you can do this manually too. And so then it's a matter of once you've got everything.
Now, right before you click that, because I've done this, so I'm familiar with this, but I've got some people in the comments saying that they think your X value might still be off. They just wanted to double check. Was it supposed to be 190 or was it 119?
Oh, nice. Nice. Very nice. Yep.
God bless you people in the comments.
That's what I get for not paying attention, man.
There we go.
Thank you.
Make sure that we didn't have a crash here.
Well, I would have caught it right away, because I know where I want to see it go, and if it starts going in a different direction, man, I got my finger on that button. All right, let's see here. So then you're going to download the subroutines. And
another question for you while you're on this page.
Yeah.
I have been using the local app that came before this web interface.
Yeah.
On that app, there's a button to save. Does this web interface automatically save all of these values you plugged in?
When you click the check mark, it saves it.
Okay.
In fact, I wonder if I did that. I better download another one. You never know. All right. So then this is just generated about 30 or 40 subroutines. So what you need to do is copy those. It comes in a zip file, and you'll extract it into now I don't have the Wi-Fi, so I can't transfer my files. I have to carry a thumb drive over there. So, and I think it's the way that Masso stores everything's on a thumb drive or something, right?
Yes, you have to have a thumb drive plugged in.
So the only stipulation is that these subroutine files need to be in the same folder as the G-code file that you're running. Does that make sense? So,
and I can actually show that here in a second.
Okay.
Once you get done with what you're talking about, just so they can get an idea of it.
Edward said, "Sorry, Stone, no early night for you." Oh
It is-
man! Soon as we get this thing going and we see it run and finish up this demo, we gotta let Stone have some mercy on Stone. Jeez, it's Friday. He's clearly dying. You know, he's on his deathbed.
We're doing great over here.
But yeah, no, Stone,
Yeah.
you're a trooper. We all appreciate your participation and your dedication. It's great.
So I'm going to put this up real quick just so you guys can get an idea of what this looks like. And I'm going to do myself. So here I have the USB plugged in. So once you open that folder up, it has a folder called ATC subroutines. And in that folder, all of these little lines they start with a 0 underscore. Those are all of the subroutines that have been created in that program that Don just showed us. And then here within that folder, you also have our file. So you can double tap that or just press the load button and that will load the file. So now that file is loaded and I could go ahead and start this tool change if I wanted to. So.
And Stone is light years ahead of me because he got some training on this this week, and I've been so busy working on videos that I've got the thing installed, hooked up, but I have not actually run it or gotten any training on it. So just kind of taking guidance from Dawn and Stone at this point. Next week I'll have some time to actually. This has been a big week, but next week I'll have some time to actually, sit down and learn how to use it and use it right. So let me see. I'm going to go through any questions here and see if there's anything that you or I are capable of answering. Let me see. We have gotten a few questions about how it's going to work with BuildBotix machines, and that people are saying that, well, there's no tool setter for BuildBotix and it's supposed to work with the tool setter. So how is it going to work with the tool setter?
Easy box, the easy adapter box, that will allow you to use a tool setter with the BuildBotix. It will also allow for homing sensors that will interface with the BuildBotix rather than the traditional stall homing that they have come with. So that's an option there. Obviously, you still have your probe functionality, but that box will allow you to do all of those other things that are required to use the ATC with that controller. It's just really what it is we said it's not ready yet, and that's just because we're buttoning things up. We're trying to make it look pretty, make it nice and user friendly. So it's really just kind of putting the finishing touches on that before we send it out in the wild, so that we don't have a bunch of people coming back saying, "Oh, you didn't fix this." So we just want to make sure that we get the bugs out and get everything nice and buttoned up, put a bow on it before we send it out the door. So
it is functioning. And then there's another question: how will it work with air weights? That is something that we are actively exploring, actively working on.
Yeah. So
we go ahead.
I was just going to say, I actually talked with Jace earlier this week. I know a lot of you saw the air weight slats that came out for the QCW, and he already has a solution for the offset of the tool rack on your QCW. As far as mounting that to your table, I'm not sure what that would be. Obviously, if you are using enough of the air weights existing systems to cover your full table, you will have to come up with something there. But as far as the air weight slats on our QCW, that will not be a problem. Or if you're using the 24x24 or a single 24x48, you still have room available on your work surface to mount the tool holders to.
And Jason's in the comments, so not to fear. Jason's in the comments. He says he got you.
Yeah.
He's aware. He knows what's up. On top of it. So
Yes.
Jason's always creeping around. What's up, Hamilton? That's our buddy Hamilton. We love him. Let's see.
Does it work with other spindles? There's no reason it shouldn't, as long as those spindles are counterclockwise enabled and have the appropriate collet. There's no reason you can't use those as well.
I was just looking through the questions here. There's a couple from earlier. I don't know if they're still around, but LTX Designs asks, been looking at the Rapid Change for a while. Out of curiosity, does it create any premature wear on the spindle? And my answer is not to my knowledge. I've got one machine that has been running since the beginning, and I haven't noticed anything at all. It's
Yeah, I would say and someone asked about the same thing about the wear on the collet nut.
you can use brakes on a spindle. You can brake it with a they've made magnetic braking systems for them, so stopping it on a dime, it's the nut that takes the abuse, if any. And the most damage that will happen to the nut is maybe it'll round the sharp corners off at the bottom a little bit, but you can tell when you get a nut that's out of balance on your machine, it'll vibrate like crazy. So I've not noticed any adverse effects. And then the thing is, I've talked to a lot of machinists, a lot of guys, and the torque that you put on your nut is pretty subjective. It gets it about hand tight, maybe a little bit more. Really, what you guys were producing was a little bit more than what I would do, but even by hand with the 8-inch wrenches. But some guys like a lot. Some guys are good with whatever, as long as the tool doesn't slip. And I'm in my mind, and I'm hoping that maybe some of the data shows this. I don't know, but in my mind, for me, like I said, 10 or 12 pounds is all I really put on mine. And clamping nuts are pretty cheap. You know what I mean? And I've not had one wear out. In the beginning, we had some sockets would wear out a little bit, but we've really improved our process and how we make them. And while we were doing stuff with you guys, I had 1 week where I was just consecutive tool changes because I was testing some different things, and thousands of tool changes on a single nut, a socket. So I would say that, but I haven't burned one out. I haven't burned a spindle out or anything. One time when I was testing it, though, I will say I went to run it, and my spindle was like, and it was like it wouldn't run, or it would run really slow, and I was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. I thought I damaged the spindle with this thing, and I actually thought that the tool changes and stuff had running at the lower RPMs or whatever. I don't know. I was freaking out. Come to find out that my solder job on the spindle, because you've got the aviation connectors, and you gotta, these Chinese spindles, you gotta solder your cable onto this aviation connector. And my solder skills at that point weren't very good, so I had a wire come off. I was pretty happy when it fired back up, and I was like, oh, thank God it was just But no, I haven't had any problems with the spindles.
So I feel like we did address this a little bit earlier, but somebody's asking, said that he doesn't see any mentioned size of the what ER size of the collet nut. Is there a range? Is it like 20 to something? Because I know it doesn't do 16, but is it like?
Well, actually, 11, 16, 20, 25, and then we're beta testing 32s right now.
Oh, so they'll all fit.
They will.
Yes. Now, currently, with this model here, it's only ER 20.
Okay.
but it's a simple matter of a different size insert for the socket, and the position of the IR sensors moves a little closer to the center line. So if there's enough demand for it, yeah, there doesn't even have to be any different design work in order to bring that up to speed. So if you guys get orders for units and guys with those size spindles, it will be.
That's one of those things. I know a lot of people kind of just laugh at it, but we really do listen to our customers. And if you look at all of the things we've released this week,
Oh my gosh!
I feel like that's all the proof we need. I mean, if you don't believe that we listen now, I don't know what to tell you, because we really do, and we take that into consideration when we're coming up with new products and what you people want to see, what you want for your setup. So if that is something that y'all really want and there is a demand for it, then we will absolutely explore those options. So
yeah, it's like we took everything that people have been asking for several years and just put them all out this week.
Yeah, you guys knocked it out of the park.
It's like everything for the last couple of years that people have been asking for. We're like, all right, you have it all in over the course of 5 days. Sure.
Yeah. So Don, do you think we could see a tool
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, I think so. If I haven't punched in any wrong numbers,
We've got some people
I
who are
think
interested.
I'm good. I am just gonna double check and make sure my Z and gauge is right. I don't want to make a fool of myself.
Well, let's see. While he's doing that, let's see what we can answer here. Ben, calm down. Calm down, Ben. Jeez. We'll get to it. All right. Let's see.
Man, Christy is blowing up the Instagram chat.
Christy is.
If you could pick one, here, I'm going to ask you this, Morgan. We'll both answer this. If you could pick one of the releases from this week, which item would you pick?
Like if I didn't have anything. And
if you didn't have any of those things, if you could only pick one, which one would you choose?
Ooh. All right, we got ATC spindle.
Laser, airweights, Jenny bit pack, and what was the other one?
Oh, rotary.
Duh. Oh, yeah, it's right behind me. Right
honestly, I would probably say, airweights.
Yeah.
Because all those things are kind of, everything else, amazing as it is, all kind of specialized things. They do one specific thing. They do it really well. But you need work holding for everything that you do on a machine. So it's one of those things that you would use probably more than, well, spindle, obviously, you need work holding and you need something to cut stuff. So, tough call, toss up, but yeah, either the airweights or the spindle would be my pick out of all the things. If I didn't have any of them and I had to actually pay my own money to get them. I don't know. What about you?
I think if I had to pick one, I would probably say the rotary. Part of that is because that's kind of been my baby for like the last 2 months. I got the fun job of figuring out how it worked and making it work, figuring out what needed to change. So I've spent a lot of time with that. And honestly, just watching it go from a square piece of lumber and then rounding that over and then carving whatever it may be out of it, watching it go from just a piece of plain stock to a finished product is just mesmerizing. Like, I've been doing this for 4.5 years now, and that was the first time in probably like 2 years where I just like couldn't look away. It's just watching it do its thing is just so cool. So
yeah.
But at first I would have said anything but the rotary because it was pain.
But see, and that's kind of that's the beauty of it is Stone went through hell and back.
I suffered so you don't have to.
Exactly. So that you don't have to. So that when it arrives on your doorstep and you put it on your machine. All the kinks have been worked out by Stone and the brilliant engineers over here at Onefinity. I say here, I'm in Florida, but at our headquarters in Canada. So everything's been worked out by them, and Stone is the kind of the boots on the ground uh, tester for all this stuff to make sure that everything is right and able to be,
Yeah.
easily implemented by our users.
All right, Don, are you ready for
Yeah.
us?
I think so. Hold on a second.
Okay, I'm going to put Don on full screen here so you guys can get a good view of what exactly is happening here. And I'm going to be quiet and let you take the reins here.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to see.
So Christy asked if this new dust boot will be made in such a way to help clear the dust out of the collets with the ATC, and the answer is yes. So this brush section here actually will fit over the entire tool rack, so it will clear that and will not cause any problems when you go to pick up the ATC, and will obviously, like we said earlier, will clear a lot of that dust out as it's just hovering over there before the tool actually gets picked up. So.
All right.
All right, Don, it's all yours. Someone asked if you break or damage one of the tool sockets, can it be replaced individually or do you need to replace the whole unit? Yes, so these all are removable and replaceable, so you wouldn't have to change out the whole thing. Oh, and here we go.
All right.
So there, it just spun counterclockwise and dropped the tool.
I just dropped that one off. I don't think I copied the right subroutines in the minute ago. I went to try it and I went to a funky spot, so I wasn't sure what was going on.
It'll go down and clockwise.
And then I'll show you what happens when it fails, just so you can see. So now I'm just going to come over and measure the tool. I'm just going to touch it off so we don't have to wait for it. So I can tell it to pick up tool 4. And it'll drop off tool 2. And then pick up tool 4. And then what I'm going to do is, here's a great example. Okay, so I've got these new cheap Chinese clamping nuts on here because I wanted them to look really pretty instead of being all nicked up. But what I was saying earlier about the threads, these have some really sharp edges. So what happened was it got caught and it didn't thread on completely. I was actually hoping that would happen. So let me show you what happens on the screen. This is gonna These are really crappy nuts, and I've had I bought them quick off Amazon, but they're not the best. So, anyways, it didn't thread on all the way. It caught it, and it brought up this message. I'll show you my screen if you can see that.
Oh,
Oh.
we lost your camera, Don.
All right. Well, I can't show you the screen, I guess, but let's see. Sorry about that. I forgot I was on a cord. Oh, wrong one. Oh. Oh, I see.
I think we've just got your screensaver.
Oh, gosh. What's that?
I think we just got your screensaver up here.
Well, it's my camera's not coming back down here. I don't have the greatest video equipment. Okay.
Yeah, Jace, 1-inch fly cutter would be the biggest bit that will fit into there.
Yeah. A 1-inch fly cutter will fit. Now, why is it so blurry? Jeez, oh Pete's. Sorry about this. I don't know why that's so blurry. Good God. Oh, because I got the blurred back.
Yeah, you got the blurred background on.
All right, hold on a second.
Let me see.
How do I? Jeez, oh Pete's. Settings. Virtual background. None. There we go. Goodness gracious. All right. Sorry. So. Oh, yeah. So, anyways, well, I'm not going to try and show you the screen. But anyway, message pops up and says that it failed zone 2. So, it's just a matter. And here's the thing, too, as far as when they get stuck like that, there's not enough torque to actually damage the threads. I've had it happen a number of times, in testing and whatnot. And so, basically, what you do is fix it, and then it will go push cycle start here. And then it'll go over the residential. See if we can. A couple of these are those brand new cheapies, but I think I have a program that will run through them all. See if it's still on there. Yeah.
Nate said, I think this problem is solved by buying the Redline CNC version. So like Don said, he's using a collet from Amazon. So those aren't going to be the best, but the ones that come with the Redline will be, or with the ATC rather, will be good quality collets that'll last.
What was that there? About the Redline?
Someone in the comments said, I think this problem is solved by buying the Redline CNC version. Just in reference to the collet issue that you had. But like you said, that was just a cheap collet that you bought so it would look pretty for the...
Right. They weren't all nicked up. And it's not consistent with them. It don't happen consistently with them. But, yeah, you get what you pay for. I think I got 5 of them for $12 or something.
Sure. So
I got to say that spindle's nice. The ceramic bearings. I was impressed with that.
All right, so we're dropping one off. So we
Yep.
picked one up, dropped one off.
And I was going to simulate a failure, but we were kind enough to get one natural.
So there we go. If you guys have any more questions, go ahead and get those into the chat. We're probably going to wrap this up once we get through this demo, just because it is getting kind of late.
Yeah.
And we've had quite the week.
And Stone is on his deathbed, so.
Real quick, I took that last tool out just so you can see that I'll simulate it. If it doesn't pick up the tool, you'll see that it'll.
Oh, that's actually perfect. So
it'll come up.
It's going to drop this one off and then attempt to pick up a tool that's not there.
Yeah,
if I understand correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it checked at its zones for that brake beam sensor, and since it doesn't have a tool, the beam was clear, and so it paused and waits for the user to fix it and continue cycle start. So it's reliable in the sense that, and really the percentage of drop or load failures is, probably less than 1% in the real world. But the functionality, the safety factor is there built in.
Well, I think that was actually the perfect way to end that, because
really
you showed it working and then you showed it not working. Obviously, intentionally taking the tool out to show what happens when there's not a tool available to pick up. But
the best part of that is nothing happens. It stops itself so that you can correct the issue.
Right.
Yeah.
That
which is
safety was a big issue with me, and reliability.
Safety, reliability. Those are the two things that I was talking about.
I know you guys killed it. I loved it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, it's nice to have to see somebody else say it. You know what I mean? Because it definitely means a lot more coming from you guys than whatever I could have ever said.
Well, shucks.
Well, let's run through these last couple questions before we wrap up here. There's a question for you, Don. Would a 240 volt with a higher torque possibly damage the threads on a miss? Now, I'm assuming that it would not, because that is controlled by the RPMs, which are going to be the same. But do you have anything to add on that?
That would damage the threads on the what now?
Yes.
With a bigger spindle?
Yes, with a 220 volt, 2.2 kilowatt.
Oh, no.
So there you go.
No, yeah. I don't think really, because you set the RPMs to tighten the nut down, and that's not going to be anywhere as close to what would be able where you could inflict damage on any spindle.
Okay.
So if you hit it at 8,000 RPMs, it's possible, but you'd have other problems with that too.
We got one more question, and I think this is probably we're going to close on this one. I'm making an executive decision.
Yeah.
Last one. And this so Jim asked, are you going to have any more live Q&A anytime soon? So yes, we're going to have lots and lots more live Q&A stuff, lots and lots more just videos and stuff that we record, teaching people what we know and have learned about all the stuff that we've launched this week. So lots more stuff coming. But yes, there will be more live Q&As. And with that, I think we can close it out, because we're going to be back. We'll be back with more live stuff to answer questions, but we gotta go.
Last thing I'll add. Yes, Mark, I promise I will get some rest tonight. I need it. But we actually are not done announcing things for the week. Everyone kind of assumed, because Friday's the end of the work week, that we were just done. But that's just not the case. We have 2 more announcements to make. We got one tomorrow and one Sunday. And we'll have some guests to talk about that stuff tomorrow and Sunday night as well. So those will be a little more laid back, not quite so in depth. But we are really appreciative of you, Don, coming on and sharing your knowledge and your experience and everything you've worked so hard to get to this point on. you guys make sure and go and follow him on social media at Rapid Change ATC. Don's forum, Rapid Change. Go check out his website, his YouTube page. Show him some love. But really, I mean, we couldn't have done this without him. And we're just really excited to work together and to further this partnership and to come out with more cool stuff together. So,
Yeah.
Thank you guys
And
for joining.
real quick before we close this out, where is my? There we go. I'm just gonna put link to the website to his website on there, so that everybody has that, and then that will direct you to everywhere else that you would need to go. YouTube,
There you go. So
all that other stuff. So website and everything else.
All right.
Thanks everybody for
having me.
And thank you for like
A lot of fun.
everybody for just like making this launch week so amazing. This has been an incredible launch week. We appreciate all of you. So we'll catch you on the next one.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Thanks again, Don.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
You're
thanks,
welcome.
Don.
Thank you.
Bye guys.
Bye, guys.